Have you ever wondered why the rich get richer and others don't? Could it be that a small percentage of the population seek out others to find, study, and execute on legal loopholes that exist within our financial life and make it easier for them to prosper? The answer is a resounding yes. This is the Secrets of the Wealthy podcast with John Mintz. John has spent a lifetime researching and mastering the financial loopholes that he believes should be available to everyone. Join us as we explore different strategies that help you get farther faster towards building and enjoying a prosperous retirement.
Hello and welcome to the Secrets of the Wealthy with John Mintz. Normally John gives us a market update, but today he's got a special guest in studio, almost in studio, virtually, and I'm so excited to get into some conversations today. John, I know that you're not doing the market update, but you've got some other updates you're going to give us.
Yeah, I could do a whole show on this, and we might circle back and do that just because, the reason we started this, I don't know how long ago we did now. I think this is episode 31 now, and we started it a ways back. But the reason we started it was to provide, the name of the Secrets of the Wealthy. And I learned a new one over the past couple of weeks because I shared with the folks on my last podcast, Eric, how my wife and I had a journey, and she has degenerative back disease and chronic pain. And so we headed to Colombia between the last show and this one with the intentions of getting some stem cell injections and just rejuvenation techniques for her. And even myself, I thought if I'm there, I might as well benefit.
Yeah.
And I can tell you the results are beyond anything we ever expected.
Really?
Yeah, her pain level. Well, she didn't tell me this, but her pain level was consistently, before we went, a 7 or 8. When I say consistently, 24/7.
Wow.
And we're talking chronic pain, sharp pains. And within 3 or 4 days, she was at a 1 or 2.
Wow.
And she's wavering right now between a 0 maybe and a 5, depending on the day. But we can get improvement all the way up to 6 to 12 months.
Wow, that is amazing.
Isn't that incredible? And so, I've been telling folks, because I can't tell enough people, and the number one question, I guess, why don't they have that here in the States? Why do you have to go somewhere else to get that? And I said, yeah, I think you know the answer to the question. So, and they say, never mind, John. So, but the beautiful thing is God's healing power is there for us. We just have to be open to it. And it's just beautiful. I just love it. So,
oh man,
there you go.
That is fantastic. Thank you for that update. Give her a hug for all of us. I'm so excited. I'm assuming that we're going to see some pictures of you guys dancing soon. No pressure.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
All right. Well, you brought a guest on the show. Who did you bring on, and what are you guys talking about?
Well, my guest today is Lisa Richardson. She's the CEO of Harvesting in Mansfield Food Bank and Food Pantry. And so just to give you a little bit of backstory on that, to say that Biltmore Financial and me and my wife have been blessed would be an understatement. God just continues to bless us and allows us to bless others, through our practice. And so we've been praying for quite some time for ways to give back to the community locally. And we've been looking for quite some time. My wife and I just on a Sunday last year, we just got in the car and said, let's just go out and visit some places. And we stumbled across Lisa's group, and we were going to see several other places, but the more we got to know them, the less we felt like we needed to go anywhere else. And we are going to find out about this group today. But I wanted, there's a lot of folks out there just like ourselves that are wanting to help. And there's a lot of folks out there needing the help. We just don't know how to connect the two. And so this is a nonprofit here in our hometown, but they don't just help our hometown. So I'm excited to introduce her and let everyone get to know her like I do. So Lisa, are you there with us?
I am. Good morning, John, and thank you for having me.
Hi, Lisa. Hi, so great to have you. So I'm so excited. I have so many questions. This is supposed to be 20 or 30 minutes, so I apologize to the audience in advance if it lasts 2 hours.
That's okay.
So tell us a little bit about you and your firm, and how did you make the decision to get into this industry?
Well, I had a 23-year corporate career prior to this. And during that career, I worked for a government contractor which was a very interesting occupation, but it was very oriented towards obviously our dollar and what we can make in this world, and that's the industry standard for most corporate businesses, which is fine. But I didn't feel myself giving back much. So we have one son who is in law enforcement, but prior to that, he went to college, and prior to that, obviously, when he was growing up, my husband and I, were both very active with him. So I sought out a nonprofit certification and served in different areas while he was in school. And that to me was more fulfilling for my God-given talents than working in a corporate office. So when that career ended, I decided that was the end of my corporate career. And so I sought out consulting for nonprofits, and I got into the food industry when I realized what that need looks like. So when I started at Harvesting, I was just a volunteer, but I was consulting for some other nonprofits. But the need for food in our country is so great that it just would bring me to tears to see people embarrassed to come and ask for food. So one of those immediate ways to help people is with nutritious and healthy groceries. So that's how I ended up here at Harvesting. And this is my 6th year here.
Wow, that's a neat story, and so helping folks with groceries and that sort of thing. So tell us a little bit about that. So what do you do for the folks, and how do you educate them and that sort of thing?
Sure. Well, we interview them when they come in. We give them emergency groceries immediately, but then we interview them to find out kind of where they are in their life journey. Most of our clients are working families who have children, and they're just not making enough to make ends meet. As you talk about, I listened to your podcast about our inflation and where we are in a recession. We're all suffering through that. And so our families get 350 to 400 pounds of food, which is enough food for 5 people for 1 month. That's how much we all use in a month's period of time if we have 5 people in our household. So when they come in for the interview, we educate them and ask where else can we help them. So we do not provide other services other than groceries, but we do provide referral services. And then we also pray with them. Oftentimes they'll ask, they just need someone to listen. And they don't want to feel ashamed or embarrassed, because almost everyone that comes in our door obviously is ashamed to ask for help. That's not a human nature that we easily are asking for help. So we talk to them, and then when we have their full story, we help refer them out to other places to help with their rental needs or their utilities or job education. And then their GEDs, oftentimes we can help them get connected to finish that up too. So that's kind of us in a nutshell. On the food bank side, we help other pantries. 80 other DFW pantries have bulk food to supply back to their areas of need in their neighborhoods as well.
So you said 350 pounds of groceries. Now, I remember the first time I heard that, I thought, man, that sounds like enough to feed an army.
A lot.
But it's really not, is it?
No, sir. When you go to the grocery store and you fill up, if you're a household of 2, you fill up your grocery cart, that's about 250 pounds of groceries. So you add in a couple of kids, you're almost at 2 grocery carts. And that's what 350 to 400 pounds of grocery carts is.
Right. Because liquids and those sorts of things in the cans and all that, they're sitting in there. They weigh.
Yes, that is correct.
Yeah. Okay. Well, and it was our intentions to visit several food banks, but we never made it past yours. But there are other food banks out there, right? And so what's kind of different, or is there anything different about how you do things than other food banks?
What makes us different is the amount of food in all the healthy categories that we give to each family or individual. And the reason we say that is most food pantries will give you either an individual box or a bag. And there's nothing wrong with that, except that only lasts you for a couple of days. And the humiliation of having to return to a food pantry has been studied in this country by Food Banking News. And we find that people are embarrassed and they just won't go back. So then they're suffering more. So if we give you enough food to last 1 full month, that kind of sets us apart from anyone else. The other rule that I have here is the food that goes into your body must be nutritional. We all know that what goes into our body is what runs our body or destroys our body. So we choose from all of the food groups. And
so not Lay's potato chips.
No, sir.
Okay.
No, sir. We have baked chips. We do give baked chips, but not Lay's potato chips. And we try to lay off a lot of the carbs. We do focus on fresh fruits and vegetables, and that is always our goal here.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, and so you kind of said something there that I hadn't heard before, which is it's harder for them to go back to you the second time than the first time. And that doesn't logically make sense to me. What is the psychology behind that? Because to me, it would be hardest to get there the first time, and then I get comfortable with you, I may be a little more open to going back, but that's not what you said, right?
No, typically it takes you the third time to feel comfortable. So I think the first time you feel, or what we see is they feel very desperate. We see a lot of grown men throughout COVID and beyond COVID. I've seen grown men crying that I would have never seen in my adult life because they're ashamed. And so on the second time, I think they feel like, oh no, we didn't make it out of your line. So we're back again. But by the third time, we've assured them, you may come. We have a 6-month and a year program. So you come during that period of time as frequently as you need to come to receive the assistance.
Oh man, you're already pulling on my heartstring here. And so, okay, so you founded this thing and it's growing. And you built this thing and it's growing and it's growing and it's continuing to grow. Tell us a little bit about your business philosophy. Then share with the group a little bit about your growth also that you walked me through lately.
Okay. So our business philosophy, I try to focus for everyone here, including our staff and all our volunteers, on nourishing people and offering them dignity. Matthew 5:13 says that we should be the salt and light to those who need it. So here at Harvesting, we focus on providing exceptional food at any given time to alleviate the stress and embarrassment of having to ask for that helping hand. We strive to become friends with our guests, like you and I just spoke about. We want them to trust us. And so my business philosophy is just being a servant leader that's focused on the needs and the personal growth of those who are under our care here. Humility and service are what we should all be focused on as a servant leader. And the humbleness that comes with that focuses on our business philosophy to ensure we're handling their needs as delicately as possible to give them some self-sufficiency. And so for our growth, we've grown 68% in a 3-year period of time, which is a tremendous amount. I didn't realize that number until I recently had a meeting with my new board president. And he said, Lisa, you're really hard on yourself, but I don't think you've looked at this bottom line. And he's correct.
Growth of what? What does he mean, growth?
Growth means the number of people that we're providing those services to and the cost of those services, and then increasing what that number would look like for donors and grants to cover those groceries. So where growth comes from needing more healthy foods. So in 2023, we'll be focusing on providing a fresh market to anyone who wants to come in and shop. And they will be able to, by the end of the summer, shop online and pick up their groceries just like you and I do at the regular grocery store.
Oh, wow. Which helps them a little bit with the dignity part, huh? As opposed to having to come there and sit there and try to pick things out and taking a longer process. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That's cool. Well, I have a scripture too that goes with that. It's Isaiah 58:10. And it says, if you spend yourselves on behalf of the hungry and satisfy the needs of the oppressed, then your light will rise in the darkness and your night will become like the noonday.
Amen.
So that's, the Bible is kind of poetic, isn't it?
It's very poetic.
Very poetic. Yeah, it's just amazing. It's beautiful. Well, tell us what we should know about your business, your service that you would consider, it is a big word, but consider valuable.
I would consider, 2 things. One is that we are also a food bank, as I mentioned earlier, and that means we provide bulk food to other pantries all across the Metroplex. One of our pantries even drives from Austin to receive bulk food to take back to some smaller, lower income families in some neighborhoods on the outskirts of Austin. So we serve people in about a 350-mile radius.
So now for the listeners, the audience on today, we have people that are outside of Texas listening,
Right.
and so when you say the Metroplex, explain that to folks.
So that would be the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, and there's a span of about 150 miles surrounding Dallas. Let's say that way, all the way to East and West Texas, 100 miles each into the rural areas. So we help a lot of fixed income and a lot of veterans who need the grocery assistance because they're on a fixed income.
Okay, keep going. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. So on the food bank side, that is a huge blessing to us because literally our groceries reach almost 100,000 people, individuals on a monthly basis. And
100,000?
Yes, because the other food pantries. So our strive, when we talk about growth, it's not growth. We don't want to see more people in our line. But when we talk about growth in this economy, we talk about helping more people with that grocery bill so that they can put a roof over their head and support their children. So on the food bank side, we are honored and privileged to help the 75 to 80 other food pantries with those groceries. We also do backpack meals for kids. And so in 8 surrounding school districts, including Mansfield, we provide 7,000 backpack meals per week, even including in the summer, to kids who do not have enough food on the weekend.
Wow.
And what we find is that those kids share those meals with their families because their families don't have enough food on the weekend either. So I have a couple of touching stories there, and one I'll highlight really quickly for you. I met a teenage boy about 2 years ago. He was 16. One of the school teachers called me from one of our local high schools and asked if we had any snacks we could donate. So I took them to her. She had a little pantry kind of hidden in her classroom. And the young man that came out to meet me, his name was Robert, and he helped me take the snacks out. And he started crying. He was about 6 foot, very thin.
Oh, gosh.
And so then I started crying, and he explained to me that his mother was a single mother, and he had a little brother who was 10, and he worked part-time to help his mom, but his mom worked 2 jobs, and he didn't work as frequently because he didn't have a vehicle, and his brother needed someone to stay with him when his mom was at work. And so I asked him, I said, why don't you get the free and reduced lunch? And he said, I do get the free and reduced lunch, but when I don't have enough money in my lunch account, I get a piece of fruit and a sandwich. And everybody in the lunchroom knows why I'm getting that piece of fruit and the sandwich. So I just don't eat because it's embarrassing. That means all of his friends know that his mom can't put money. And he told me that he didn't want to stress his mom out. So he just doesn't tell her when his lunch account runs out. So he would go without eating, and anything that he got at school, he would take home and give to his little brother. So long story short, he came to volunteer here, and then he signed his family up for food. And 2 years later, he still comes to visit. He's graduated from high school. He's enrolled in college. We helped him that year with a bicycle to get to work. And his mom is back on her feet. So that's just one of the many stories that we don't see in our everyday life where people are just struggling to make it. And you don't think of a teenager being hungry.
Yeah. Wow. Well, he could end right there, but I got more questions.
No, that's fine.
So all total, how many food banks or counties in Texas do you serve?
So right now we serve about 80 other food pantries. And then in the counties, we're at 12 counties right now. We're serving 12 counties. Okay.
And for those that don't know, a county in Texas is sometimes as big as Rhode Island.
That's correct. You are right. You are correct.
Yeah. So that's a large territory. So, you mentioned inflation, recession. I guess we call that stagflation maybe.
Exactly.
But all the challenges that are going on this year and maybe into next year. So what are you kind of seeing as your biggest challenges as you move forward now?
Our biggest challenge right now, John, is having the funds and the available bulk foods to provide to the families that need it. So the food cost to us in a commercial setting has tripled in the last about 14, 16 months. So we have less food available to us from the USDA. We don't have any more Farmers to Families boxes. And so fresh fruits and vegetables are very expensive for us to purchase in a bulk form. And so we partner with other food banks to purchase those in bulk when we can get them. But our biggest struggle right now is just having the funds to buy the bulk foods to make sure we're providing to these families the same nutritional value that we've been giving for the last 3 years.
Well, I don't think anybody's going to debate with you as to the rising cost of food. And not anybody that's been to the grocery store recently. Anyway.
Right.
And so although you buy it in bulk and at significantly lower prices, it's still the same multiple of what you're having to pay as far as percentage increases, right?
That is correct. And on top of that, we pay freight. And I know everybody knows that when you go to the gas pump, it's the same for us. We have 2 diesel trucks. And then when I have to pay for a shipper, they're charging me the freight. We're used to, they would deliver to us for free, and they don't do that any longer. So we're absorbing that cost as well.
And then you've got the cost of, because of the growth of the need of individuals needing more. And, it's kind of like a domino effect, right? Because the more things cost, the harder it is for you to get it, and the more people that need it.
Right. That is right. That is correct.
It's kind of a double-edged sword here.
It is, because what we hear are obviously medicine. You talked about you and your wife's health journey. That is the largest problem that we see with anybody that comes here. They have a health issue, and to pay for their medicine or pay for groceries, they have to make a choice. And if their kids are sick or their kid's broken arm, they have to decide which to do. And they should not have to do that in this country. That should not have to be a choice, whether you buy groceries or buy your medicine or help your child be healthy to get to school. So that's the number one thing we see. And then just the rising cost of insurance, living expenses are ridiculous. And so it has driven the cost of groceries up, and then it just trickles down to all of us. And so we just see more of a need. And all of our clients are all very grateful and very humbled by what they receive. And they, more than anybody, want out of our line as soon as they can and get back on their feet.
Wow. What does it cost generally? You say you feed somebody, you let them stay in the program for 6 months or 12 months or whatever it is. What does it cost when the 350 pounds that you deliver to them? What does that cost you to be able to deliver that all in?
For us, that cost all in is $35 for one family for 1 month.
$35.
That's what it costs me. That is correct.
And this isn't the deep, barren parts of Africa we're talking about.
No,
that's what it sounds like.
No, that's what
here's your rice and beans.
No, they receive proteins, and then all of the fruits and vegetables. That's what our cost is on a bulk form. So when I buy pallets of food, I can get them at a much less cheaper cost, obviously. And so that's what it equates to. So $35 will buy a family of 5. That will pay for a family of 5 to have groceries for 1 month.
And I wanted people to know that, because that's what, when I asked all these questions on the front end, and I didn't ask all these questions, but when I was asking you questions, because anybody that knows me knows I'm pretty thorough. And because I always want to make sure that the time and money that me or my extended network of clients or whatever is putting towards this is going to get to where it needs to go, right?
Absolutely, yes.
Which is a real problem, as we all know out there. That's what a lot of people, I think, don't want to give, because they're afraid it's not going to go to the source.
I agree.
That needs it. But I think you just proved that, saying that if somebody can donate $35, they're going to change a family's life
for a month. That is correct. That's absolutely right.
Well, so tell us, you said you had a few stories. You shared one with us earlier. Do you have another story or two that you could just share with us of recently?
I do. I have a family who the husband worked in a computer industry, technology industry, and they moved here from Germany about 10 years ago. And the wife was initially from Texas. The husband had family here. He was from another state, and I apologize, I don't remember which one, but they had lived in Germany for his career, and they moved back here. And during that process, they had a son, and the son passed away from a very unexpected illness at 35 years old and left 2 children. And their daughter-in-law was mentally not equipped to handle those children. And she left them one night with them with no discussion, no nothing. She left their clothes. just left them in the middle of the night. And so this family who is very close to retirement and in their 60s and looking for those golden years are having to start over with 2 children under the age of 12. And so they had volunteered at a different food pantry when they were in Germany. And so she came to me and she was very embarrassed to ask for help because they are just in a position. Then they had a car accident, and it was just one of those things where things just happen like they do in all of our life. Our oven goes out, or our refrigerator goes out, or our car breaks down. And they just had a stack of bills and 2 young children to take care of that they were not equipped to do. And so that was about 10 months ago. And she is excited when we have someone that turns their grocery card back into us. We call it a graduation. And we have a little celebration. And so she is excited to say that she is coming this Friday and turning her grocery card back in. And she is going to be volunteering with us full time. So they got back on their feet and they got their car repaired. We helped her, the children, with some school supplies. So sometimes we have hygiene supplies and school supplies. And so they're back on their feet. So that's another very victorious story of people that have been coming here consistently for almost a year. And we're obviously very happy for them.
That's
And
awesome.
And the last one I have is about another student, and it's a little disturbing, but I'm going to share it with you. So I had a teacher call me from not a high school local. It's about 30 miles away, I'll tell you that. And they didn't want anyone in their community to know about this teenager who was 17. She had a car. She had a part-time job. Her mother had remarried. So she had a stepdad, and they weren't making it. And the stepdad was selling, if you can fathom this, selling the food that she was getting in her backpack meals. So she was receiving a weekly backpack with backpack meals in it for the weekend. And he was taking that food from her and selling it. And
who do you sell it to?
I don't know. That's my question too, John. I don't know. But she went to the principal and asked for help. Well, the principal called someone that I know, and he comes here. He was here yesterday visiting one of the assistant principals. And so it got into a bad situation. The principal actually took money from her own pocket and bought gift cards and gave it to this teenager so she'd have something to eat.
Yeah.
The stepdad dug through all of her stuff, found the gift cards.
Oh my gosh.
And he was not abusing her, but he was verbally abusive. And so long story short, we helped her find some resources. She has since got out on her own. She has a job and a car, and we still help her with food. But she anticipates when she graduates in May, she's already been accepted to a junior college, that she will be a successful individual and out of that situation. So while it sounds drastic and not most positive, it will be, because then she also will come here and volunteer. And she's excited that she will no longer need to get the groceries for us. So she's living with a different family member and will graduate from high school and is already enrolled in college. So those are the positive stories that we like to hear, because a lot of people, I think, don't think that there's positive endings out there, but there are many. And that's one. She's really become, she's really on my list of people that I pray for daily, because she's a very strong individual and she's been through a lot. And so I find that very uplifting when you talk about someone that's in that position, that's that age. Can you imagine? At 17, I cannot imagine me having to worry about groceries at 17.
No,
so
I can't.
It's a basic need that we all should not have to worry about. And so for her, like I said, she's a strong individual. Her story will be published with her picture in one of our upcoming newsletters.
Wow. Well, I think Eric's muted his microphone because
so he's crying.
So he's probably bawling in the background. But
seriously,
but anyway,
you're right. I mean, the vocal cords get little tight when you think about this kind of stuff. I'm telling you.
Yeah, exactly. As you're sitting there talking, it makes me think of, chiseling away dirt and clay and ugliness away from the diamond. Correct. That is underneath.
You're right.
And that's what's happening. And that's just incredible. You hear stories, if you go back, and I read biographies a lot, and you read about successful individuals, but most of them they didn't come out with a silver spoon, and they didn't come out with the best of childhood either. Correct. But somebody somewhere in their life did something to give them light and give them hope. And that's just took off, right?
Right, exactly.
So
And that's what we're here to provide. We
pretty
have
awesome.
a big group of volunteers that are very faithful, very dedicated to helping these people. And most of the time when I talk about my role here, I'm crying. Today, I'm making
Mhm.
it through because y'all have put me at ease, but it is a basic need that we just as Americans do not understand how serious and critical it is in this country. And in Texas, it's 1 in every 4 people are nutritionally impoverished. So they're not receiving enough food on a daily basis.
Yeah, I'll say, I've heard all the time, why do we have to, we don't have to go overseas to do missions. It's
No.
right here in our backyard. But I didn't really understand until I got to know you and your group better. So I'm thank you for sharing that with you. Well, with everyone that I interview, I always end the same way. You don't have to answer this question, but I always like to give you the opportunities to ask you if you have any parting wisdom for all of us. And that doesn't have to be related to the food bank. It's just, anything that you may have learned or been taught or read over the years that you think that you'd like to share with the audience.
I'll share this with you, John. So before I came into this position, I knew miracles happened around me. I probably didn't feel like I'd witnessed one, but my favorite Bible verse is Matthew 17:20. So faith as small as a mustard seed can move mountains. And when you move into a position like this and you face these people who are hungry and desperate, you see them at their very worst. And so what I've learned here is that God provides miracles here on a daily basis, and I've witnessed them. So what I would impart to you and your listeners is that there is hope out there, and there are people to provide that hope. And if you can be one of those people and just make a difference in someone else's life just one time, you would not believe the impact that you are leaving on them. Food is a basic need and a basic necessity. And I've taken that for granted for the majority of my life until I'm in this role and I see you give food to people and they'll go sit in their car and eat it before they ever leave. And it just brings me to tears. So my words of wisdom are, be that faith that's as small as the mustard seed. Just have that, give that to somebody, be a light for somebody in the world just one day, and it will be returned to you exponentially.
See, I knew I'd finally get to you.
You did.
Well, you got to me, and I know you're getting to the audience as well, and not on purpose, because it's real. I can tell you, folks, if you spend any 5 minutes getting to know Lisa personally, you know that this is her passion, it's her life, it's her everything. So much that I think now her husband is coming on board as well.
He is in week number 3, and we are not divorced yet. So it's working very well.
Well, I'll be praying often for that one. But so obviously, I could keep going, but we need to wrap this up. So I know there's some folks that's going to listen to this and want to get to know you better, want to figure out how they can be of value and be of help. So what is the best way or ways for them to reach out to you and find out more? Absolutely.
Our website provides all of the information to contact me directly. So that is www.HIMcenter.org. If they want to call me personally, they can certainly do that. My number is 817-319-8070. And either of those ways will get to me directly, and I will be happy to have a discussion and give them a tour.
Well, thank you, Lisa. This has been an absolute joy. And I just can't wait to see how much you're going to continue to change the lives of others around us. So thank you for sharing everything with us today. You're so welcome. I'm going to let Eric close us out. And Eric, also, if you have any additional questions for Lisa, fire away, brother.
I'll tell you what, I don't have a question, but you guys both shared some scriptures, and one popped into my head. It's the one that I actually built my company around, which is Matthew 6:33, and it's, but seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well. And John, I've worked with you for a very long time. I know that you seek the kingdom first, and Lisa, obviously, with everything we do, you seek the kingdom first. And it didn't even dawn on me until I really was prompted to read this for, to talk to you guys about it, that the 2 verses right before this starts at 31. It says, so don't worry about what, saying, what shall we eat, or what shall we drink, or what shall we wear, because God knows you need these things. That's
Amen.
exactly what you're fulfilling, Lisa. So thank you so much for that, for everything that you're doing. The stories that you shared, you got personal with us, you got personal with the audience. And I hope people listen to this and their heartstrings are tugged to the point where they're picking up the phone, getting on their computer, jumping on and seeing what they can do to change lives in your community and in theirs, really. So thank you so much for that. John, thank you for the platform. We wouldn't be here without you. So so thank you so much for that. And of course, our last thank you goes to the listening audience. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening to the Secrets of the Wealthy podcast with John Mintz. If you have not subscribed to the podcast yet, please click the subscribe now button below. This way, when John comes out with a new podcast, it'll show up directly on your listening device. This really makes it easy to share these podcasts with your friends and family. And again, especially this one, I encourage you to share. Again, thank you so much for everyone at Secrets of the Wealthy. This is Eric Johnson reminding you to live your best day every day. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to the Secrets of the Wealthy podcast with John Mintz. Click the subscribe button below to be notified when new episodes become available. The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of the guest and does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of John Mintz. The content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only. The content is not intended to be a substitute for professional investing advice. Always seek the advice of your financial advisor or other qualified financial service provider with any questions you may have regarding your investment planning.